Would you join me in a moment of prayer, please? Spirit of the living God, fall afresh on us. Spirit of the living God, fall afresh on us. Melt us, mold us, fill us, use us. Spirit of the living God, fall afresh on us. Amen. Starting in January, we're going to take the cheat sheets away from you. Is that okay? I want you to internalize that prayer. I want you to pray it all during the day. I don't know about you, I sure do. And I want you to internalize it. Is that a fair deal? Starting the new year? Great. Do kids still write letters to Santa, or is there an app for that? As a little kid, my mom would come to my little brother and myself and say, it's time to write your letter to Santa. And I loved writing letters to Santa. I always looked forward to it. It was kind of like one of those clues that Christmas was coming when she asked me to write out my letter to Santa. And a couple of months ago, I came to you with a different style of homily. And it was a letter that I wrote as if I was a person from the Scriptures. I don't know if you remember that. But I like to occasionally come before you and write letters from different people in the Scriptures. And today, I have one of those letters. Now, if you've never been used to this kind of style, it's not found in the Bible. It's just something I created. But it's going to be a letter from John the Baptist. I love this guy. He's this radical person in camel's hair, leather belt. He's the original. He's the original vegan, out there. And so I like to, by writing letters as if I was that person, I get to know that person better. So with a little creativity, a little openness, this is a letter that John the Baptist, I would hope, would write to us. Dear Parish Family of St. Clement, this is John the Baptist writing my annual Advent letter to all the saints in training, celebrating Eucharist today at St. Clement. You won't believe who I ran into this week. Santa Claus. But he looked frazzled and bent out of shape. He wasn't his jovial self. In fact, he looked like he'd been run over by a reindeer. I said, "Hey, Saint Nick, what's with the long, sad face?" "Oh, Santa told me that something terrible had just happened to him. He was in the mall this past week. He likes to do that. He likes to help out his Santa's helpers. And he was sitting in a mall listening to children's lists. And he asked one of those children on his knee, what was the reason children around the world celebrated Christmas? Why do they celebrate Christmas?" And the little child, with a big smile, said, Why, Santa. On December 25th, we celebrate your birthday." As Nick finished telling me this story, he was visibly shaking. He looked at me and said, "Commercialization of Christmas has gone too far. Too far this time. But I just don't know how to get children to redirect their attention away from me and back to Jesus." And he asked me if I had some suggestions. Well, the first thing that popped into my mind was, let's just cancel Christmas. Wouldn't that shock the kids? That would shock them into rethinking what's the purpose of Christmas in the first place. In fact, I told Santa that when I began preaching the Judean desert, my message was shocking. My message was radical. And it did wake up the people, get them out of their ruts and back to God. Santa was kind of shaking his head saying, nah. Santa thought canceling Christmas would be a wee bit too radical and would probably ruin the world's economy because retailers really depend on Christmas sales for their bottom line. Well, I next suggested then maybe, just maybe, I should show up alongside of Santa at all his breakfasts with Santas during the season. And then I could set those kids straight. Again, Santa was kind of shaking his head. Oh, he thanked me for the idea. But he thought my radical appearance in camel hair and leather belt would probably scare the kids and upset the parents. So we continued to talk about ways Santa could use his influence to prepare people, especially children, for the real meaning of the season. Santa, in fact, told me that he had already contacted the major TV networks trying to buy 5 minutes of time. But the only one who would take him up on the offer was the Weather Channel. Finally, Santa looked at me and said, JB, maybe you are my only hope. I need you to do today what you did 2,000 years ago. I need you once again to prepare the way of the Lord's coming. I need you to call the people to wake up, to wash up, and get ready for Jesus. JB, I need you to undo the damage the over-commercialization of Christmas has caused in the minds and hearts of our kids. It probably won't be easy, and you'll have to come back year after year to remind the people it's time again to wake up, to wash up, and get ready for Jesus. When he finished, he asked me, well, John, will you help me? I nodded and I said I would. And then a big smile reappeared on his face, and he let out a jolly ho, ho, ho. I then told Santa that I had come up with another brilliant idea. A new strategy that I would work with the adults. And that every year I would visit every single church at this time, and I would ask the parents, the grandparents, the aunts and the uncles to wake up and wash up to the deeper meaning of this season, and then share that awareness. With their children, grandchildren, nephews and nieces. And I would also encourage these adults to always remember in their words, in their thoughts, in their actions, that Christmas begins with Christ. Santa said, what was that? I said, Christmas begins with Christ. Santa really liked my ideas, especially the last one. He said he had a great idea to go back to the North Pole, to get the elves to work on a neat little card that he was going to place in every gift Christmas Eve. And when children would wake up on December 25th and open their presents, they would see this card that Santa had left them with their gifts. And that card would say, Christmas begins with Christ. People of St. Clement, will you help Santa and me reclaim Christmas for Christ? People of St. Clement, will you pledge to do all in your power to wake up, wash up, and be prepared for the comings of Christ in history, mystery, and majesty? People of St. Clement, will you do all in your power to ensure that the children of your parish realize that Christmas and everything else begins with Christ? Friends, I don't want you to stop preparing for Christmas. Just make sure that while you decorate your homes, send your cards, listen to your carols, do all that shopping and partying, that you use all these to reinforce that Christmas begins with Christ. People of St. Clement, December 25th is meant to be the grand opening of the true Christmas season, not the grand closing. Work hard now to seek the internal message of the season and try not to be swept away by all the external pre-celebrations, so that on December 26th, you're not too exhausted to celebrate the beginning of the 12 days of Christmas. People of St. Clement, I call you to be awake. I call you to wash up. I call you to be prepared. For Christmas does indeed begin with Christ. The letter is signed, "Sincerely in Jesus' love, John the Baptist," or, as my friends call me, JB.